What's up guys, Meredith with ExtremeTerrain.com, and today we are checking out this bumper with the steel brush guard in black, fitting all 2020 and newer JT Gladiators. If you are looking for a combination of ultimate grille coverage and the benefits of a front bumper, this option is going to be a solid solution for you. Now this will be perfect for the JT owner who's looking for good protection to the front of their truck, in addition to a big increase in capability for any off-road treks, whether you're hitting the desert or the woods. And it's even a solid choice if you are only occasionally off-road but want the full protection when you're out and the unmistakable heavy-duty appearance that this gives to the Jeep. The two-in-one design here offers a large safeguard for the grille with the large tubular build and the two wide uprights being a solid barrier between whatever obstacles that you may come in contact with for the grille or the headlight. The bumper will also provide good mid-width coverage, but will allow a good amount of clearance on the side thanks to the angled up ends and the shorter build compared to the factory one, allowing more room for a larger tire and increased approach angles. The bumper will also be winch capable with a top mount on the bumper and will have welded shackle mounts and included shackles for recovery that even come with little isolators here. Now what's also included is the 4 LED lights to replace those factory fogs with ones that are much brighter with a high output and clean, crisp light, and they're well positioned with the larger lights in the middle for very bright distance and the strips on the outside here for a fog light pattern for a good amount of width and a significant increase in your visibility. This is made of a tubular and plate steel construction that is fully welded together, so you can ensure that this is going to be structurally sound when you get it. This will also have a black E-coat primer and a black powder coat on top to protect the steel underneath from any rusting or corrosion over time and surface damage from hazards on or off the road. The LEDs will also be durable in a more long-lasting sense with a very efficient design and have a long lifespan while also maintaining a high output of light, and the housings will be tough with a solid plastic lens and an aluminum housing, as well as a gloss on the aluminum, so those are going to hold up just as well as the bumper here. Now this will be a little bit more expensive than the standard front bumper because it is going to offer much more, coming in at around $1,200. Compared to others in the category, this will have that dual function, a lot of tough protection and coverage for the front if that is your main concern, and all of the standard and additional utility that you need for whatever adventure that you're going on. Now most options available will not have everything you see here, especially the grille guard on top or the grille guard bumper combo, making it a unique choice for the JT owner looking for all of those benefits in one mod. Now install is going to be bolt-on, no drilling or modification is required, but because of the pure size of this and the process, I am going to give it a lighter 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and it should take you about 2 hours or so to get it mounted up. Now you will need to position the front bumper in front of the frame horns in order to bolt it in place, which can be tricky alone, so I do recommend to have an extra hand or even 2 to help you get this mounted up. Now at this point, we can head over to our shop and check out a detailed breakdown on how you can get this onto your JT at home. So that is going to wrap it up for what I have to say. Let's go ahead and jump into the install.
The tools you'll need for this project are an impact gun or 1/2-inch drive ratchet, a 3/8 and a 1/4-inch drive ratchet, a short 3/8 extension, a swivel joint, an 8, a 12, and a 13 millimeter socket, a 10 millimeter wrench, the supplied 4 millimeter Allen key, a 16 and an 18 millimeter socket, a pair of wire cutters and crimpers. You'll also need to source some zip ties and a 3/4 inch drill bit. Hi everyone, today we're installing a front bumper on our Gladiator, so let's get started by watching a short video on how to uninstall the stock bumper.
So our first step to uninstalling our factory bumper is to remove our splash guard. It's held in by 8 push clips and 2 8 millimeter bolts. So we'll grab an 8 millimeter socket for our bolts and a clip remover tool for our clips. So our first step is to remove these 2 8 millimeter bolts. And now we can remove our push clips. Now coming back up top, right in between our bumper and our grille, we have 2 more push clips that we have to remove. So once again, I'll grab that clip remover tool and pop these out. Next, we can come behind the bumper on the passenger side. We have to disconnect our connector for our fog lights. So we'll press in back here and disconnect our harness. So now staying on the passenger side, right by where we disconnected our fog light harness, we can remove this 16mm bolt as well as these 2 18mm nuts. Now for the top nut, we're gonna leave that threaded on a few threads just to hold everything in place while we work on the other side. So we'll take that 16mm socket to remove our first bolt. And then we'll grab our 18mm socket to remove our 2 nuts. And then once again, up top, we're gonna leave it on a few threads just to hold everything in place. Now coming to the inside of our passenger frame rail, we have the same setup with a 16mm bolt and 2 18mm nuts. So once again, we'll grab that 16mm socket for the bolt. And then we'll swap out to our 18mm socket for our nuts. And on the inside of our frame rail, we can fully remove both of our nuts since we have that one supporting the weight on the other side. And then we can slide our bracket out of the way. And once we're done with the passenger side, we can repeat those same steps on the driver's side. So now we can go ahead and remove our 2 nuts that we have left supporting the bumper and fully remove it.
All right, before we can install our bumper on the vehicle, there's some prep work that we need to take care of, primarily installing our lights. So we're going to install our lights first, get them wired up, and then we'll talk about the wiring harness, and then we'll go ahead and mount our bumper onto the vehicle. So starting off with our square lights first that go in the center section of the bumper, what we're going to do is feed this through from the front, making sure, of course, that the logo is facing the correct direction. So we'll feed our wiring harness for the light through the hole, and then set our light inside. Now the kit comes with 4 bolts with lock washers, flat washers, and nuts as well. As you see on the outside mounting holes on both sides here for the square lights, we have some clip-in bolts. So our screws will go right into those. And then we can use the flat washers and lock washers and nuts on the inside bolts. So we'll go ahead and feed our other one in too. Now we can use our bolts to come in from the front side. All right, so we're going to feed our first screw in on the outside into our pre-mounted spring bolts, spring nuts. And that'll kind of hold our light in place while we put the other side in. We'll feed the bolts through on the other side. Install the flat washer, a lock washer, and a nut. And then do the same thing for the other hole. Now using the supplied 4mm Allen key and a 10mm wrench, we'll go ahead and tighten these inside screws up. All right, now we'll tighten two outside ones using the 4mm Allen key. Now, because of the bracket that's built into the bumper, it's a little difficult to see these outside bolts, but they're right here, They work directly across from the inside ones. So we'll just tighten those up with the supplied 4mm wrench. And now you can do the same procedure for the other light. All right, now let's get our two outside lights installed. Now our outside lights have a mounting bracket that has to be attached to our light itself. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure that we put in our large bolt. And as you can see, it locks into place, so we don't have to worry about holding it in. So now we can go ahead and set one of our small screws into the slot in the back of the light. Making sure, of course, that it's oriented in the correct direction. And then we'll take one of our small screws, put our bracket over the outside of the mounting post, take one of our small screws, set it in, and then using the supplied wrench, we'll go ahead and tighten that down. Now our outside lights come with a mounting bracket and a large bolt so that we can attach it to the bracket on the bumper. So we just slide that in from the bottom side here, and as you can see, it locks into place. So now we can take one of our nuts for the small screw, lay it in the landing area here next to the cable, then take our bracket, place it over the holes, and then using one of the small screws with the supplied wrench and a flat washer, go ahead and insert that from the outside, and go ahead and tighten that down, or at least snug it up to hold it in place. Now we can do the same thing for the other side. So we've got one of our small screws with a flat washer. one of the nuts. We'll put that in place. And insert that as well. Now it's just snugged in now to hold it in there. Now we can go ahead and mount this light to the bracket in the bumper. All right, now we can go ahead and set our light in place on this outside bracket here. And using a flat washer, a lock washer, and the supplied nut, we'll go ahead and secure that to the bumper. All right, and we'll go ahead and tighten that down with our 13mm wrench. And you can repeat that process for the other light. Now each set of our lights, the square ones and the rectangles, both come with a wiring harness. The wiring harness includes a relay and an inline fuse, as well as an activation switch. So now we've got to prepare our lights to be able to connect to our wiring harness so that we can actually get this thing to work. So we've got 4 connectors for each pair of lights, 2 for each light. So we've got a red wire and a black wire. So we just need to put these connectors on the ends of these wires so that they are ready to connect to our wiring harness. So what we're going to do is use our wire strippers and remove about 1/4 inch or so from each end of the wire on the light. Go ahead and twist the ends, make sure it doesn't fray. Then we can go ahead and insert the wire into our fitting. And then using our wire crimpers, we'll go ahead and crimp that onto the wire. Give it a little tug, make sure it's tight. Do the same thing for the other one. And now you can go ahead and repeat this whole process for the other 3 lights. All right, so like we said earlier, both sets of lights come with their own wiring harness, so we're gonna go ahead and hook both of them up right now. Now the wiring harnesses are identical. So we've got our red wires and our black wires, and we're gonna connect each of these to the appropriate place on the battery to get our power to the lights. So we're gonna go ahead and use our 12mm socket and remove this nut on the end of the positive terminal on the battery, and then go ahead and put our red wires on there and replace the nut, and then we'll do the same thing for the negative, so for the black cables. So we'll remove this one on the end here. Hook up our 2 red wires. And replace our nut. Go ahead and tighten that down. Now we'll use our 13mm socket to remove this nut on the negative cable. And connect our 2 black wires. Now for the time being, we're going to take our two switches and we're just going to set them on the other side of the engine compartment, and we'll run those through the firewall in a little bit. So for now, we'll just set them out of the way. And you can make a determination as to where you want to mount the relays to help keep them. For our purposes today, since we're not leaving these lights on our vehicle, we're just going to tuck them down here next to the battery. Now, we need to take the other ends of our wiring harness and feed them through the front of the grille down into the bumper area. So one way to do this, and you can figure out your own way if you want to, one way is we're just going to tuck it down in here in front of the radiator in the corner here. So we'll feed the two wire harnesses underneath the mounting bolt for the air filter. And then we can go ahead and feed them down here in this corner. Now, if you reach up underneath the grill here, right behind the corner, you'll be able to reach up there and feel those wires and go ahead and pull them on down. So we just reach in behind the fender liner here as we're feeding our harness through, and go ahead and pull it down. All right, now we'll do the same thing for the other one. All right, now that we've got our wires run through, I've got myself a buddy here. We're going to go ahead and lift this up and put on the nuts on the inside studs here on both sides just to hold it in place, and then we can finish putting in the bolts on the outside. So we're going to use a flat washer, a lock washer, and a nut on each of the studs. Now with our studs holding our bumper in place, we can go ahead and install our bolts with our lock washers and our flat washers on the outside mounts here. And then using our 16mm socket, we'll go ahead and tighten up our bolts and our nuts on the inside. Now we'll tighten up the nuts on the inside. And now you can repeat that process for the other side. All right, now it's time to go ahead and connect our wiring harnesses that we ran earlier for our lights. Now, it doesn't matter which one you connect to which pair of lights, they're all the same. You just want to make sure that you connect the same harness to the same pair of lights. So in our case, we want to make sure that we connect the two outside ones to one harness and the two inside ones to another harness. So that being said, we'll go ahead and connect. The other thing that you want to make sure of is make sure that you connect red wire to red wire, black wire to black wire. So that being said, we'll go ahead and plug these in. All right, so we'll connect our red wires together and make sure that you've got the short side of your harness on the passenger side. And then we'll run this one over the frame. Now we'll run it over the frame on both sides. And we'll plug it in over here. Now we'll do the same thing for our other harness. All right, and now you gather up all the excess and either pull the harness back up through, zip tie it all together so it's out of the way, or you can do the same thing behind the bumper. So whatever you prefer, we're just gonna go ahead and wrap ours up and tuck it in under the bumper for right now since we're not leaving it on here. You can do whatever works best for you. Now it's time to go ahead and run our switches inside the cabin. Like I said, we've already run ours across the engine compartment. You can secure yours how you want to. There's a trim panel right here. You can run your wires behind there. Like I said, for ours, since we're not leaving it on here, we're just gonna run it across. And there's a grommet on the outside of the master cylinder right here. Now we've already removed ours to give you a better idea of where it's at, but there's a grommet right there that you can use to be able to feed your switches through. So if you remove that grommet and then put a slice in it or a hole that you can feed your switches through, then we can go ahead and feed these into the compartment and get ready to mount them. So we've got our one switch through, now we'll feed the other one through. And now we can go into the cabin and show you how to get these mounted. Now, as you can see, we've got our switches pulled through the firewall and up underneath the dash here. Where you mount them is completely up to you. One suggestion would be down here at the bottom of the dash where there's nothing behind it that you have to fight with. If you want to mount them up here, that's fine. Wherever you choose to mount them. Now what will have to be done though is you will have to drill 2 holes in your dash wherever you choose to mount them. Now these measure out to be, in order to fit, 3/4 of an inch. I would recommend drilling slightly smaller than 3/4 of an inch because you can always take more off, but you can't add it back in. So drill your holes accordingly, and then you can disconnect the wires from the ends here, push your switch through the dash where you've drilled the holes, and then reconnect your wires on the back side. Just make sure that you mark the positions of the red, white, and black wires. Now, as you can see, once you push the switch, it does light up and the lights will come on. Now, like I said, we're not going to drill a hole in our dash because we're not leaving these lights or the bumper on our vehicle. But Now you've got an idea of how you want to put them in your vehicle. Now that everything else is done, our final step of the installation, install our D-rings. And that wraps up our review and install of our bumper with steel brush guard in black for your 20 and newer Jeep Gladiator JT. Thanks for watching, and remember, for all things Gladiator, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.